Imagine a startup that promised to change the entire world of healthcare. A small machine, no bigger than a toaster, that could run hundreds of blood tests using just a single drop of blood. No needles, no long waits, no fear. Just one tiny prick and you get every result you need. Sounds magical, right? That was the dream Theranos sold to Silicon Valley, to investors, and to millions of people. But behind that dream was one of the biggest lies in tech history. It all started with Elizabeth Holmes, a 19-year-old Stanford dropout with a deep voice, a black turtleneck, and an obsession with becoming the next Steve Jobs. She spoke with absolute confidence, used big vision words, and told the world that her company, Theranos, had built breakthrough technology that would revolutionize diagnostics. Investors loved her confidence, media loved her story, and Silicon Valley loved a good disruptor. Within a few years, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire on paper. But there was just one small problem. The technology didn't work. Not even close. Inside the company, engineers and lab workers were struggling every single day. The tiny machine that Holmes named Edison couldn't run even a fraction of the tests she claimed. It would produce inconsistent results, errors, or simply break down. Theranos employees kept warning leadership about these failures, begging them to slow down, to fix the problems, to be honest. But Holmes and her partner, Sunny Belwani, kept pushing one message: make it work or pretend it works. They created a culture of fear inside the company. Employees were divided into secretive teams. No one knew what the other team was working on. Anyone who questioned decisions was fired or threatened with lawsuits. Holmes and Sunny monitored employees, forced them to sign strict NDAs, and created the illusion that everything was going perfectly. But behind the scenes, when doctors, investors, or journalists came to see demonstrations, Theranos did something shocking. They secretly ran the tests using traditional machines made by Siemens, not by Theranos. They hid the truth to keep the illusion alive. Even worse, when Theranos started offering blood tests to real patients through Walgreens, the results were dangerously inaccurate. Imagine getting a blood test that wrongly tells you that you're pregnant, or that you have cancer, or that your potassium levels are so high you could die at any moment. These weren't mistakes. These were crimes caused by fake technology pushed onto real people. So how did the truth finally come out? A few brave whistleblowers inside Theranos, along with investigative journalist John Carreyrou from the Wall Street Journal, started asking questions. The deeper they dug, the more obvious it became. Theranos was built on lies. There was no revolutionary technology. There was only smoke and mirrors. When the truth was exposed, everything collapsed. Investors lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Walgreens shut down their partnership. Holmes' billionaire status disappeared overnight. Eventually, the US government charged her with fraud. After a long trial, she was sentenced to prison for deceiving investors and putting patient lives at risk. The Theranos story isn't just about one company lying. It's about what happens when hype becomes more important than truth, when Silicon Valley celebrates bold vision more than real science, when investors fall in love with storytelling and forget to check the facts. Because Elizabeth Holmes promised to change healthcare forever, and she did, but not in the way she intended. Instead of inspiring innovation, her story became a warning. In the race to become the next big thing, never compromise honesty, never fake results, and never gamble with people's lives. Because in the end, the biggest lie in Silicon Valley wasn't the technology, It was the belief that no one would ever look closely enough to see the truth.